This is Kim Newlove, host of the Pharmacist Voice podcast. Welcome back to my 4-part Pharmacist Mom series. Hooray! Each Friday in May 2022, I'm publishing an interview with a pharmacist mom in honor of Mother's Day, which was Sunday, May 8th. If you're new to the Pharmacist Voice podcast, welcome. Again, my name is Kim Newlove, and I am the host. I am a pharmacist by training, but I made a career transition to voice actor and podcast host. Among other things, I narrate audiobooks for women pharmacist authors, provide medical narration to clients in the pharmaceutical and biotech industries, and narrate content for explainer videos and e-learning projects. I was inspired by my nonverbal son with autism to combine my background as a pharmacist with my speaking voice and launch my business, The Pharmacist Voice, in 2017. My son Craig helped me realize the power of having a voice and using it. My solo podcast episodes are about some aspect of being a pharmacist, a voice actor, a pharmacist podcaster, or my career transition from pharmacist to voice actor and podcast host. My interview shows feature a variety of people who use their voices to advocate for something, educate in some way, or entertain so that you are inspired to use your voice too. This is episode 150, and you can find the show notes with links to most of what's mentioned today on my website, thepharmacistvoice.com. Just click on the podcast tab and search for episode 150. Today's episode is an interview with Dr. Karine Wong. She is a pro at Girl Talk, and it was a pleasure getting to know her here on the podcast. Karine is a clinical pharmacist with more than 20 years of hospital experience, but she's also many other things. She's an entrepreneur, an author, a podcaster, an app creator, a social media mini-star, a wife, and a mom of 3. She does a fantastic job talking about how she uses her voice in all those different ways during our interview. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Dr. Karine Wong. Hi, Karine. Welcome to the Pharmacist Voice podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. We are going to have some fun today. We're going to talk about your career a little bit and how you use your voice as a pharmacist. And we're going to dish mom stuff. We are going to talk about mom stuff. It'll be fun. Yeah, I'm glad you're here today.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love talking about mom stuff.
Awesome. Well, first, though, I want to talk about how you've used your voice as a pharmacist. I have done some research on you, and I have found that not only have you been in clinical practice, but you're also an entrepreneur. You're quite the TikTok icon, among other things. So I would love to hear how you've used your voice as a clinical pharmacist.
TikTok icons, more like TikTok mini star. Yes, you're right. I am on TikTok quite a bit. I'm also very active on social media such as YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. If you go to those accounts, you'll find that I'm a public figure and I post videos that promote patient education through my craziness. It's a lot better received by patients to see something visual, to even laugh at it, and to understand, oh, this is a medicine that I'm taking and this is how it works. Or this is a glucometer that I have to use, and it's so easy to use because Dr. Wong is using it. So, and it's not to be formal or boring by any means. It's fun. I have music in the background, a lot of animations, and I use myself as a prop. So it's so people can laugh at me and see me using the glucometer or see me using or demonstrating an enema, for example. Those are examples I would do.
Yes. Oh, I've been watching your TikTok videos, and I must say, not only does she dance, but she also bakes, and you are absolutely right. You talk about drugs and disease states and devices, and I think it's all good. I have never had anybody come on my podcast and talk about how they use their voice as a TikTok mini star. That's pretty cool. And I have a personal favorite video, and I just want to throw this out there for anyone who has not seen Karine's TikTok channel. Is that what you call it on TikTok? I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
We got our terminology straight. So you got to check out the one about enemas. Karine mentioned it just a minute ago, but it is educational, but it's also humorous too and unexpected the way that she demonstrates how to use one. So check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's pretty fun.
Oh, thank you. That is my favorite too. That's actually that's still trending right now, right next to BTS videos. But I think the point of this is that what is interesting to pharmacists is may not be the same as what's interesting to patients or would-be patients. They're the ones that are clicking onto it. They're the ones that are engaging with the enema video. I also like to do videos that no one has done before. Like no one's going to want to talk about AFib or aflutter, or no one wants to talk about AV blockade. Those are difficult things. I think my next one that I'm working on right now is how to handle patients with orthostatic hypotension. You know, we always tell patients to get up slowly and all that jazz, which is great. But what if your patient has a broken arm or has a broken foot and they can't do that? What do you do? So I have to be creative and dial it down so people can say, oh, that's why I tell a patient. Or my patient can watch it and go, oh, that's how I get up out of bed instead of jumping out of it or falling off of bed, for example.
Oh, I love that. Two things that I picked up on that you just said is you're more concerned about what's in it for the person watching it, the patient ultimately, than you are about it looking pharmaceutically elegant, I guess would be the term, right? Like it's not something that pharmacists would necessarily repeat. It's not something that every pharmacist would do the same way. But then also you're talking about coming up with multiple things that multiple different topics, and having a wide variety is good. And I wouldn't be surprised if people contact you and say, hey, can you do one about this? Because I'm embarrassed to ask my practitioner, and pictures say 1,000 words, videos it's probably 10,000, right? So has
Yes.
have any of your viewers asked you to create a video on a certain topic yet?
Yes. Yes. It's great. You mentioned that. Companies have been reaching out to me. They saw my
Cool.
video. They would go, you know what? Would you do a video for us on our product, which is a hygienic one or a female device? Uh, those are
Cool.
great opportunities. I have no problem at all because I'm willing to take my voice and go to no man's land, to go to where no pharmacists dare to venture because of their, maybe it's just too much for them, or it's like too edgy, or it's too embarrassing. Frankly, I don't get embarrassed. I don't. You can't say nothing to me. I mean, I'm in the hospital for 20 years. I've seen it all. It doesn't faze me at all. So, yeah, ask me away. I have no problem at all. If you look closely, there's another video about drug used for female dysfunction. It's called hypoactive female dysfunction disorder, and they're using a drug called Addie, which doesn't really work. The reason why I did it is because female patients are asking me about this drug. Karine, would this drug help me get more, encounters with my husband? No. And here's the reason why. Watch the video. You'll see why. And I show them what happens when you take it. By the way, you do feel happy. You do feel excited, but you don't actually want to do anything about it, which is a
Oh
bummer
my
for the
gosh.
guy.
Yeah,
So,
it is a bummer for the guy.
it is statistically significant, but not clinically significant. But pharmacists don't go and say that to patients. They don't offer it. They just say, oh, go get therapy or go get Prozac, or, these are not helpful advice to a woman who suffers from, a sexless love life.
Do you bring a little bit of humor into it, or is that one pretty straight laced?
No, that's pretty funny.
Is it? Okay, I want
I
to
haven't
watch
seen
it.
it. Yeah, you can watch it. It's very self-evident, and all my videos are 59 seconds or less. Nothing too long, primarily because of platform requirements. Nothing too long. Plus, we know that the attention span of most consumers is like 8 seconds or less. So I really gotta dial it down the first 8 seconds, make it catchy, give them the hook, and then watch the rest. So if this is something you deal with, you'll watch it. Understand, Addie costs $10 a day. It's a serotonin dopamine blocker. It is not worth it. I think women are probably better off doing other things instead. And if you want to know, I'll tell you later.
There's a podcast out now just between you and me, and I'm totally going to leave this
Maybe
in
next
because my
time.
listeners. Okay. I just wanted to leave this in for the listeners. There is actually a new podcast called Sex PharmD. Have you ever heard of this?
No,
I'm
that's not me,
pretty
by the
sure that
way.
I love the title. I'll tell you what, I think it's on the Pharmacy Podcast Network, but I feel like there could be some sort of like a guest appearance in your future if you reached out to them to tell them that you have made this video. And anyways, I just think that it would help you to elevate your brand and just get you more appearances. I think that those topics that are kind of taboo and a lot of women don't like to talk about it need
Right.
to be addressed in short little doses. And I love that you're doing that on TikTok. And if you're bringing humor to it, thank God, because some of that stuff can be extremely hard to talk about. So good for you.
Yeah. It should be light.
Yes, absolutely. Because, yeah, emotions are difficult enough. Come on, let's at least have a happy TikTok video, right? All right, cool.
Yeah. So going back to your original question about
Yeah.
my using my voice, yeah. So TikTok is probably one of the biggest avenues I use. Besides that, I would say that my entire career has been based on if I see a problem, I want to fix it. So if I see a gap, I fix it. So for example, when COVID hit, a lot of the hospitals, including the one I worked at, was canceling rotations for the third and fourth year students. Well, guess what? They have to graduate regardless. And now they don't have the rotational experience they need to become a better pharmacist. And it's not their fault, but the hospitals are shutting down. They're not letting anyone in or out. It's COVID. So I offered to do a special Zoom rotation for these students. 3 schools picked up on that. And I ended up teaching well over 40 students in 1 year via Zoom.
Whoa, that's
Fun
amazing.
internal medicine topic. Thank you. And it's such a popular program. I'm still doing it, even though the hospitals have opened up and they really don't need me anymore. But I've become so popular that they're scheduling me in. All of my students have passed exams. They are just totally have their clinical experience, even via Zoom. I give them cases. I do exactly as I would in a rotation, just via Zoom. It's safer, plus it's cheaper. No gas is spent. So everyone loves it. I saw a problem with children fighting a lot. Basically, my children. So I wrote a children's book about sibling rivalry. So it's called Don't Sit on Her. And it's a children's book that I wrote that was telling children not to eat each other, not bite each other, not look at each other, just hug each other. No need to express bodily harm to your sibling as expression of love. That was another problem I saw, and it worked really well. They'd stopped doing that, by the way. They stopped biting each other.
Good.
But I sell in stores. People like it because it's identifiable. It's for 3 years and up, so they can read it with their parents. So that's another example. I saw a gap where the pharmacy students were approaching rotations without a good clinical background. So I created an app for them so they can download that bad boy, put it on their iPhone, which is the most commonly used device among students, and they can use my format as a way to remind them the side effects of aminoglycosides, to know when to give, Zyvox, know when to, switch from IVPO therapy. So these were all done in a quiz-based format. Prepares them for the board, prepares them for the upcoming exams. Yeah, they love it. So again, these are not huge money makers. It's never been about the money. Never. It's always been about what problem am I solving and how do I fix it?
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your success. I just got to ask real quick, what is the app called? Is it still available for purchase?
Oh yes. It is called Pharmacy Pearls, like the pearls you wear around your neck. Pharmacy Pearls. It's available on iPhones.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for the info. I will put a link to that in the show notes if that's even possible. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't mean to interrupt. How else do you use your voice? I think there was a podcast in your background. Is that right?
Yes. Okay, that was a funny story. I auditioned for a pitch contest is a podcast pitch contest. So they said, pitch me an idea for a podcast that's never been done before. So I did. And I won. And the podcast idea.
Way to go.
Thank you. I know I didn't expect to win. It was about relationships. And you're right thinking, well, that's been done. But it is about how to manage conflict within a relationship. As a person who's been divorced, someone who's been through it all in terms of management, I'm having your staff who's like 10 years older than you not agree to your protocols or your rules. It's hard for someone like me who's younger and trying to tell the older pharmacists, please, can we have a meeting? Please, can we do this dosing now? Very difficult because they think you're a child and you look like one. So it doesn't even help that I got a lot of pushback from my staff alone. So I had an 8-series podcast, and each series or each episode was about a specific conflict: boss versus staff, husband versus wife, fiance versus fiance, boyfriend versus girlfriend. And I would talk about deal breakers, how to handle the escalation. And there are little tips. That's not unusual, but I will tell you that in every episode, there's always one tip that's a juicy one that you've never even thought about. So I don't present what's obvious or what's out there. You can easily look that up, but I present what's tried, what's effective, and what's mind-blowing. So I call them mind-blowing tips, because you could listen to it and think, I know everything there is to know about conflict management. I bet you didn't. So listen to my podcast and you'll find out why. So I've had people actually still go to this podcast and they'll like put it in the DM. Oh my gosh, just got engaged. Did not know that I had to stop seeing my girl on the side. Yeah. You engage? You kind of married? You can't be dating so-and-so. You gotta, chill it. Gotta cut it off. Because marriage is it's a pretend marriage. You are essentially married, not in the eyes of the law, but in the eyes of everyone around you. So you can't be having side chicks or side guys. So it is a big deal to get engaged. I had people come up to me and they're thinking about going out with so-and-so because they're trying to start dating. Great, good job. But the guy can't get over the fact that the woman is larger than he is. And I said that for you, that's a deal breaker. Don't even try to waste your time. Just move on, but don't ghost her. At least be nice and be cordial and say, this is not going to work out. I wish you well, and move forward. So there's a professional way of handling it, but don't ghost. That's immature. And don't try to deal with someone's physical shape or their culture. You can't change certain aspects of that, right? You can't change the fact that you're Caucasian and I'm Chinese. You can't change that. So don't waste my time dating me, hoping that will change in 5 years.
Yes, definitely can't change that. No.
Okay.
No. So what's this podcast called? I want to check out at least one episode of that. It sounds interesting.
Girl Talk. It's called Girl Talk. Like, you know how girls talk? It's Girl Talk. So I'm on this podcast as a solo speaker and I girl talk with you.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, I'm sure there's some insights that I would enjoy too. Sure. So, hey, thanks.
And of course, everything I do is funny. If you don't laugh, you didn't do it right. But you will laugh. I try to make everything light and fun, but to the point and direct.
But, I love direct. Yeah. You and I get along really well, I think, for that reason. Plus, you're very playful, which I love. It's a breath of fresh air.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, are there any other ways that you use your voice as a pharmacist that you'd like to share?
Oh, there is actually one big one that I kind of forgot. I can't believe this one. I just came back from work. From my other job, I am the CEO of My Gillis Treats. I'm probably the only CEO of a company that makes diabetic-friendly desserts. It's called a panna cotta, which is Italian dessert for like cooked cream. It tastes like flan. It's very soft dessert. Traditionally, it's made with whipping cream or heavy cream, and it's full of like sugar and caramel or chocolate. It's very decadent. I wanted to make something for my diabetic patients who suffer from like their diet. They can't manage their diet. I keep upping their Lantus or their metformin, and their A1C doesn't move the needle. And it really comes down to diet. And no one wants to exercise. I can't stress that enough. They don't want to exercise. So what do you do? Well, Dr. Newlove, I would tell you that you have to go with a path of least resistance. You go for the food. They always want desserts, right? So instead of selling them a salad or a protein bar, I'm going to go and get you to try my dessert, which I know you're going to love because everyone loves desserts. It's a different texture, so you have to enjoy that texture. It's made out of coconut cream, and I fortify it with protein from milk, but there's no lactose in it. So you don't get the bloating and GI irritation from the lactose. That's one. Number two, it's made of coconut cream. Number three, they're low in sugars. They're all diabetic friendly. So instead of like testing in consumers, I test it in patients with CGMs. So I always know what the sugars are going to be when they're on taking my food products. It's pretty funny. So I have one patient right now, / customer, who bought a case last month, and she just, 2 months ago, she reported to me her A1C dropped by 2%.
Oh,
and I was like,
nice.
that is amazing. Because, and I'm not saying that I did. I'm not saying that my product did. I'm saying that my product, my brand helps her, because when she reached out to me, she said, hey, A1C was in double digits and she needed to bring it down for obvious reasons. I'm going to start with you. Okay, great. So I sent her a pack of 18 units. She loves it. Her kids like fight over it. The whole family enjoys it. But she started this whole mantra of, I'm going to eat healthy. We'll start with guiltless treats. We'll do salads. We'll exercise every day after work. And so it's become a lifestyle. We start with guiltless treats. That's my company's name. And that is the perfect example of how my product should play into. So now I'm using my PharmD, and trust me, I use my PharmD so much in this company, not just in macronutrients and recipe design, but also like knowing the pH of it. I want the pH to be neutral so it doesn't cause erosive esophagitis or exacerbate GERD. I want to make sure the YT level is not too high, but low enough. So there's a lot of shelf life issues too that you don't know. But my whole point is that my PharmD played a big role in it. And now I can say to patients with diabetes, you can have this. Those with prediabetes, you can have it. You have celiac? Great, go for it. There's no reason why anyone can't have this dessert. There's no issue. That's why I love it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I guess I could have done it without being a pharmacist. If I was just a regular cook, I don't think I've gotten this far. So yeah, I'm very proud of what I'm doing because I know I'm helping out so many people who struggle. So every day when I work on Sundays, I know I'm pretty tired, but I love it because I know that I enlightened at least 20 customers a day who bought my entire stock, who just loved it. That is their main jam now because they have celiac disease. One person had cancer. They were going through chemotherapy. They can't have anything because the ulcers bother them. And this one tastes amazing. I had one diabetic the other day, and it doesn't taste like Lucerna. It tastes great. Yes, it's so good. I even sell it in stores. So it's not a drug. It's not medicinal.
Now, where do you sell it on Sundays? You said you go somewhere and that's your other job, right?
Farmers market. So there's a farmers market in Irvine that I go to. It's very popular. Yeah. So from like 4 hours, I'm on my feet and I'm pitching, and I have staff. I have interns that work with me. So it's a great opportunity to meet my customers. It's now with COVID, it's difficult to go into stores and do demos because of COVID precautions. But when you're on the market, it's the only time where I can actually put myself out there in front of people's eyes. They get to meet me. And at the end of the day, if they don't walk away with a panna cotta, they can walk away with a little bit of insight from Dr. Wong. And they love that. So my whole thing is take something beneficial away from me. One thing, whether it's a dessert, advice, hope, whatever you need, I'm right there for you. Because pharmacists right now, we're so busy. Have you met a CVS pharmacist or someone at Target? They're always behind the counter. They're not out in front of the counter talking to you, trying to help you find your product. They're not. And I understand that they're busy. They're doing their job. So I don't fault for them, but I felt bad because consumers still need help. And they look lost in the aisles, just like they look lost at the market trying to find the magic bullet. So I just took them aside, like, what do you need? Well, I've got diabetes now and I don't know what to eat. Okay, let me talk you through it. So I give them a few advice, like, when you go for food, go for foods that have less than 9 grams of added sugars. Go with that. Start easy. less than double digits of added sugar, you're good to go. You can have that.
You are a wealth of information. All those people at the farmers market, I'm sure, are getting their money's worth, and they get a free sample too, right?
Yes, they do. They do. Yeah, I'm like the only medical person there. And it's funny because not only do they get the information, but whenever something happens, like we had last year, someone fell down, had a stroke. They're like, Karine, okay, I'll be there in a minute. So I had to go there and they didn't know how to lift the person off the floor. So I have to be the healthcare person when they need it. So strokes, heat exhaustion, that's okay. That's our job. That is our livelihood, right?
Yeah. Well, you're in Orange County, California, right? And it gets hot there, right?
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to, I guess that's my personality, to be helpful. I think that's where I found my niche in the hospital field, working side by side with physicians, helping them run codes. It's super fun.
You have the right personality and the right energy for all of this. It's hard to believe that you work full time as a pharmacist and then you also do this. That's amazing. I give you a lot of credit.
Oh, thank you. I don't have a lot of time by myself. I do the morning shift from like 7 to like 3, and I take a little break, and then I work the rest of the evening. I work well into like midnight sometimes.
On your business?
Yes. And I have to switch it up because I have other things going on too. So as a manager, you have to be really good about disciplining yourself. So Mondays are always day off. So I have Mondays, no work. That's a theory, but at least I give it to myself. I say, Karine, you're not going to do any work. And I feel pretty good about that. I actually end up doing something, but at least I can say I can take a day off. And other days, I have specific days like production days, marketing days, days of invoicing, working on new marketing products. So every day has a certain purpose. How about that? So it's not too bad.
Yeah, but still, much respect. And hey, I wanted to comment about it's called My Guiltless Treats, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can find that at what website? What's the website for that?
myguiltlesstreats.com.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about as a pharmacist before we transition to talking about mom stuff?
No, I think we're good.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for sharing how you use your voice as a pharmacist. And we're going to talk now about how you use your voice as a mom. And can you first tell me just a little bit about your family?
Oh, yes. I have a 22-year-old son who's about to graduate from UCSD. Wow. And then I have 2 little girls, ages 13 and 12. So I've got a little bit of a big span. And it's a bit challenging because they're obviously different ages. So I have to pivot the way I parent. Oh, hey, that's a good saying right there.
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be on a t-shirt someday.
I think it should be. Pivot the way you parent. With like my 22-year-old, I can't mother him. And I'm his mom. I don't want to like baby him, or I don't want him to be a mama's boy. No. I want him to be an independent man. So I don't see him often because he's busy in San Diego having a life of his own. And this is what I want for him. And he's happy doing what he's doing. My baby girls are at an age where they're, Mommy, help me with my makeup. Mommy, help me go shopping. Mommy, let's do our nails together. Okay.
That's
so they're very
fun.
early. Oh no, it's super fun. I'm enjoying it. But I do have to pivot. And then of course, as they get older, I had to like kind of pull back so they can learn to be independent as well. So like 13-year-old is going through hormonal changes. So sometimes she's fun or challenging, as I would call her. And I would call her out and said, honey, you got a little bit of hormonal changes. How about you take a break? Take a break. And she's like, okay, mommy. She goes upstairs because she's so distraught with the emotions. And I'll ask her, why did you get upset? I don't know why. I just keep crying. That's called hormones, honey. That's normal. So
I'm not laughing at her. I'm just thinking how I missed that because I have 2 boys. I didn't ever have to deal with that.
No, it's pretty funny. They cry and they have no reason why. My husband's like looking at me with like a deer in the headlights. Why is she crying? What did I say to her? Oh, honey, it's not what you said. It's how you said it. Now she can't stop crying. That's when he goes to the garage and retreats himself for a couple hours before he emerges from the garage.
Yeah, everybody's got to learn how to get along. That's life, that's family.
Yeah, yeah. Puberty is always a very challenging part. How do I act? How am I a pharmacist and mom? It's interesting. I would say that being a preceptor helps me become a better mom. For like my children now who are of this age, you can't say no to them. Just like you can't say no to an intern. You got to tell them why. Or even your staff. You can't say, no, you can't dose it this way. Or, no, you can't order Viagra. You have to explain why. Because it's not on the formulary, or because of other drugs approved for this, or you're not authorized to handle C2s. I mean, you have to explain why. And once you get their buy-in, they will follow along. Now, with children, teenagers, tweens, same thing applies. If you don't explain why, they'll just kind of go, okay, bitch. And they're going to do it again. Right? We all been there. We've all been 12 and 13 at one point. So when you're telling a child no, it's not going to have the same response as telling a 2-year-old no. A 2-year-old or 1-year-old no is nothing happens. They just go, okay, whatever. And then they get distracted with Elmo or whatever. But a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, you tell them no, you better have a very good, solid reason why. No, you cannot go out. It's school night. Or no, you cannot play games because it's 12 o'clock and you have school in 8 hours. And then they realize they may not like it, but they realize, oh, mom has a good point. I better not do that. So they will comply. And that helps, honestly, save you from conflict, save from any kind of distension among the kids.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Raising kids has so many challenges. Conflicts are certainly one of those. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
What are some of the other challenges that you experience as a pharmacist mom?
Especially when they work from home like I do, when they see you, they think you're always there. So they go, hey, mommy's home. And they start doing information dump on you. Information dump is when they see you and they just unload on every single minutia that happens in school while you're dosing aminoglycosides on a patient, or you're trying to counsel someone. You're like, I can't handle it. So we have a rule in the house where if mommy has a certain look, or mommy says, not now, with the fingers up, like in a not now, they know to recognize emotion and to retreat. They cannot talk to me until I literally turn the computer or say, okay, mommy's here. How can I help you? I approach it very professionally, and they're limited to about 10 minutes of talking. You only speak about 2 things that are important to you that you could tell me. Don't dump all over me, because my kid will do that. They will talk my ear off about the boy they liked, about the girl fights they've had, about someone look at them kind of funny, or, they get an A+ today. And it's nice, but it's just a lot of information to take. So,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that's
yeah.
a challenge for sure. And then as a mom, I'm sure you want to know how that story ends, but it's like, hey, your 10 minutes is up. I gotta go,
It's not even a story more. It's more like a laundry list. So, mom, I went to school. I had breakfast. Yeah, tea was okay. Pizza was not that good though. Oh, and Miss So and So saw me today and said I had like nice hair. And this boy I lied. Yeah, he like kind of winked at me, but I'm not really sure. It's a lot of like girl talking involved. Now, I should tell you, I have 2 of them at home. So after one is done, then there's one coming up. And then at 5 o'clock, my husband comes home, and that's another story. So I have to go, okay, you guys are limited to like 10 minutes each.
Yes. Well, hey, you got to put a cap on it. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's time later to hear the rest of the story. And then, there's just not enough of you to go around. So I'm sure you just have to balance everybody. But what's it like? What's one of the challenges of having this huge gap between your 2 girls and your only son, and he's off at college? What's that like?
Um, it's not too bad because he's, like I said, out of the house. We do mostly girl activities on weekends and weekdays with the children. Yeah, it's been pretty great. There's no like big challenges I could think of. Now, in the beginning, it was challenging, like when they're babies. When I had Lisa, this 13-year-old, and I had her right after I got married to my second husband, and we got pregnant very fast. Apparently, I'm fertile myrtle, which means I can look at a guy and get pregnant just by looking at him. Did not know that. And then the other one was an oopsie baby as well. So I kept having oopsie babies. Not smart by any means, and we were careful, but things happen. But when I first had Lisa, there was a lot of I would say backlash from my colleagues, my family, my friends for abandoning my career to be a mom. And it was hurtful. I was told I was wasting my time and I'm better off hiring someone. Why am I doing this when I'm such a good pharmacist? And it was hard for me.
Did you take a step back? Like maybe you were in management?
I took maternity leave. And then when we tried to hire people to watch my children, we had to fire them because they were not careful. And I thought, okay, let's look back. Is it worth it to hire someone for, let's say, $100 a day to watch your child while you go to work and something bad happens to your child in a fatal way? Is it worth it? No, it's not. And my husband reassured me that financially we were fine. So if I want to do that, he'd be more than willing to support me for the children's sake, because that was much more important to have a child that was safe. So that's what I did. So I took time off. I did eventually go back. So I went back after like 2 years. And then I ended up having Lily by accident, which was fine. So I managed to also come back after 6 months. And we had weekend help. My husband actually stepped up. So he was able to watch a child on the weekends and with his family. So it was fine. I was able to do work weekends, part-time on like the weekdays. And eventually I was working full-time. So it was good. But I would say that for every mom who's thinking about having children, you will encounter backlash, which is unfortunate. And if I could do a video for you, I would. But I'm still trying to figure out a way how to fix this because it's not right. We as women cannot clone ourselves, but we are the ones that raise children. We're the ones that bear the children. We're the ones that are ultimately responsible for them. So, and I didn't give up my career. I still went back to it. And I kept my brain fresh, which means I would do CMEs like any chance I got. I mean, I racked up like 100 some odd hours of CME, so much you would not believe. But I want to do it to keep myself fresh. So when I did get a job or was able to jump right, I can jump back in without any hesitation. So that's my advice to future moms or moms who have little ones is do lots of CMEs. Keep your brain fresh and don't let people bring you down. Because if they did, like they did to me, and I went back to work like they told me to, I would be upset because I would miss the first 5 years of my children's life, which was the best years. Like I had so much fun, going out very far, taking them on stroller rides and bonding with them. I mean, we are tight for a reason because I've always been there for them since they're babies. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Thanks for sharing all that. I know that's very personal. Going back to your son, were you already a pharmacist by the time you had your son too? Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was. And
Was that different for you going back to work at that point? I mean, what was the situation there?
Oh, that was easy because I was a pharmacist, but I was a part-time one. And I was able to pick and choose my schedules. So on days that I did work, my husband would cover, or we had daycare for him. But he didn't do it full time because I was always home. So that was good. Yeah. Yeah. But and so I kept my, what's the word? I didn't abandon the company. I didn't quit. I actually kept working. So I didn't get a backlash back then. But when I had my 2 kids and I talked about quitting, that's when there was backlash. Then there was like this, what? You want to be a full-time mom and not work? That was hurtful. The irony is that the people who said that back then are the ones who are depressed, who hate their jobs, who, they have a life completely different from mine. And they kind of are a little bit envious of what I have. So I understand, like they couldn't quit because they had the backlash, but you can't pin it on me. I'm not that person.
I love how you owned the way that you did it. That's what you got to do. And any prospective moms out there, or anybody sitting at home with a brand new baby and you're not sure what the right thing to do is, and like Karine, you feel these pressures from outside sources, it's okay to call the shot, make the choice, and own it. I did it, and so did you. So thank you for sharing that.
I remember, this is a funny story, Dr. Nula. My mother-in-law, she's Vietnamese, doesn't speak English very well, but I ever telling her, she goes, Karine, when you go back to work? I'm not. I'm actually gonna stay home with Lisa and take care of her and breastfeed her, and for at least a year. Why you do? You a pharmacist. Why you waste your time watching baby? You hire someone. You hire a Vietnamese woman watch you for $10 an hour. You go back to work, make more money. You know good. Literally her words. I know good. I cried that night. And my husband said to me, you do what makes you feel good. Because there are always going to be people who are like that. But they're not going to be there when your kid's going to miss you at daycare. They're not going to be the ones who will take care of you when your kid gets hurt because your nanny, dropped hot water on your kid, which happened before. So it's like, when that happens, what do you do? Oops, now I'm going to quit my job because something bad happens. No, that's too late. So if you don't trust people or you can't find good help, don't. Stay at home just for a little bit. Keep your brain fresh. Yeah, I think the point here is don't have regrets. And don't do something because your mother-in-law or your family or friends have shunned you and made you feel bad for making a choice that you and your husband have decided.
I love that you're keeping it real. This is really good advice. I love it. Do you have any other advice for current or prospective moms?
If you're going to have a baby, obviously plan for it. Don't be surprised like I was. But seriously, plan for it. I've had patients come up to me and they're like, I want to have a kid. And I go, well, tell me your regimen. Like, how are you taking prenatals? Are you taking folic acid? No, we're just going to play roulette and see what happens. Yeah, that's not cool. Because every month that rolls by, your egg gets older and older. So if you're going to be serious about having a kid, let's get a good baby, right? So load up on prenatals, get your folic acid going on, get your physical in, get your guy tested out, no alcohol for him. I mean, come on, if you want to know how to make a healthy baby, yeah, ask me. I'll tell you. I even know a way how to get baby boys and baby girls. There's actually a special position for that, but maybe for another podcast.
I read a book about that. And let me just say, I tried for a girl, I got a boy. I'm just saying. I think you've got a 50-50 shot. And
no, it's first one to the end of the race that wins, so.
Yeah, sometimes you can't help winning, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But there's some positions that can increase the risk of one sex over the other. That is true. But anyways, moving on. To prospective mothers out there, definitely plan for it. It's not a journey you want to lightly embark. In other words, I think it's even much more serious than marriage. Marriage, you could divorce. Pregnancy, you can't exactly stop it, and you want it to have a good baby, like good, healthy and all, right? So that's what I'm saying. Don't take it lightly. If you're gonna do it, be serious about it. You only ovulate like once a month, right? And you have a small window of time, so you want to optimize it. Yeah. So if you're not ready mentally, don't do it. But if you are married, mentally ready, financially stable, don't play Russian roulette. Plan for it. Be smart about it. It's funny how like pharmacists were so organized and so serious about our career, but when it comes to having babies, it's more like haphazard, more like, whatevs. No. I'm pretty serious about it. If you want to have a kid, come on, what are you doing here? Like, yeah, that's about it. I won't say anymore without embarrassing you too much.
Oh, you did good. You did good. Oh my gosh, you are so good at girl talk. But on the same topic of, giving advice, what advice would you give prospective moms about having kids, about like what time? How's the timing? Like I got accidentally pregnant, like you were saying, like whatevs at 23. And I ended up having my first one at 24. And then the next one, I don't think I've ever talked about the next one on the podcast before. The first one I've talked about before, being an oopsie. But then the second one, I went to Germany on vacation with my husband and our 1-year-old at the time, didn't refill my birth control pills, came back, and that is how kid number 2 came along. It's like, oops, I had like the rebound pregnancy, your
Yeah.
first egg after you've quit birth control pills, it comes pretty
Oh.
fast. And
Oh.
yeah, he's like, didn't even try. So I know not everybody's as lucky. Anyways, back to you. When is a good time to get pregnant?
Good time would
Yeah.
be get a job at least 6 months in. As a former employer, a manager, I don't like it when people come to me, and I know I can't say that out loud, but if they're already pregnant, I know what's going to happen, So you have to at least devote a year of time to a company, because we will take time to train you and work with you, right? So at least put in a year of employment, get your financial bearings, start paying off our loans. I don't care if you rent or buy, it doesn't bother me, but be financially stable. That's one. Number two is have a family, have a husband that's like you're married to. Don't have this boyfriend, girlfriend thing. That's not cool. A kid needs a stable environment, not a revolving door full of girlfriends and boyfriends. So yeah, stable marriage, financially stable. Yeah, and be employed. And then once you're employed and you get pregnant, that's okay. Most employers, after, if you're a permanent full-timer, they'll keep your job. They, have options where you can stay as part-time, per diem, you can float with them, but you're at least a part of a system. That's the whole point. You're part of a system. Now, if you can't get a job, that's okay. Then go ahead. If you're financially stable, go ahead and get pregnant now. And then after you deliver, go and get that position that you want. But that's hard for you because you have to keep your mind fresh. It's easier if you already are employed, have a little bit of experience behind your belt, and then you are pregnant maybe a year later. That's what I suggest. I know it's hard to plan, but there is no perfect optimum time, and obviously as pharmacists, you tell people that it's better to be pregnant below the age of 35, right? Because our eggs are older. And no one wants to have a high risk of pregnancy. So if you can get pregnant between ages 30, 35, great. Especially you want to have multiple children. You want to start at least age 30 to think about that. Yeah. And there's a reason why people
Oh, I said all good points.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We don't talk about it, but it's true. If you're 28, 35, 28 to 35, good time to start having kids. You want to have multiple ones, start a little bit early, like 28, 29. That way you can have another kid 2 years later. It's funny. Asians have a rule that you should always have the kids 2 years apart. And I never knew why. And I'm Asian. I'm like, why is that? When I had oopsie number 3, I realized why. So I had oopsie number 3 when my second one was a year old. Okay. And she's just learning a lot. I'm kind of potty training her, right? Now, then I got pregnant, I could no longer train her. So there'll be times where I'm huge, big as a house, can't bend, and I've got to lift Lisa onto the little toilet, but I can't do that because I got a big melon in my belly, So Lisa did not get trained to be in the toilet until much later. And that is bad because you can't go to daycare unless you're fully potty trained. And if you are not, they charge you lots of money to change your diaper. So ideally, if I had it right, I would have waited for Lisa to be 2 years old, fully potty trained, sent her daycare, and then have gotten pregnant during that time. So a nice 2-3 year span. Yeah, that's the reason why. But no one told me that.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, when your belly's big, it can be hard. I waited 2 years, but that's just how it worked out. And I just want to acknowledge the fact that not everybody can get pregnant. Sometimes people have to foster, adopt, so on. Sometimes they have a same-sex partner and they have to build their family a different way. So I just don't want to forget anybody. We're not saying that everybody's got to be hetero and have a husband and have babies that way, and it's got to be all planned and during a certain time period. We're just giving our thoughts, and we are owning it, right?
Yeah, no, I completely so. But I think those audience that you just mentioned, they understand that, yeah, I get it. But most people who are heterosexual who go through this, they don't know when to start because, biology is taxing on them, take time off from work, blah, blah, blah. actually, if you think about adoption, it's a little bit easier. Adoption, you can actually say, hey, we'll start the process now. And, the kid's born already and they're like somewhat trained. So it's easier a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Families are made in lots of different ways. Yeah.
That is a good way of saying it.
Well, we've talked about a lot of things so far, advice for current or prospective moms, balancing a little bit of work and family. You were talked about in the beginning. I want to hit that again and talk about balancing work and family and ask you any advice. How do you balance work and family, and what advice do you have for others?
Well, when it comes to pharmacy, they really can't balance it. I just have to make sure that I do it when the kids are in school. So I practice pharmacy when the kids are at school. That's a given. When I used to work in the hospital, that was easy. They don't call me during work, whatever. I don't talk shop at home. So I keep it like my work life away from everyone's ears at home. That's how I keep it separate. So they don't know what I do. Now they have a better idea because I lecture at home. With other things, like if I can incorporate them, I will. Like, for example, at the market, I take them with me and they pitch, they sell.
Oh, how
They
fun.
Yeah. I train them like interns. And so they work with me. They help set the canopy. They meet with other customers. So they're working and they love it. Even I get my 20-year-old guy do it too. He staffs with me too. So that's how I share my time with them. So if I can incorporate them, I will. If you look actually in one of my videos, I have one on AFib, A-flutter, where I teach the students the difference between AFib and A-flutter. I have my little girl dancing with me, and we're doing the whole rhythm with music. So you can see that. And she loves it because now she's part of the story. She's part of this, video, and she loves it. And plus she's watching Grey's Anatomy now. So she's always like quoting me like, oh, mommy, that's a code blue. Shall I get the defib out? And I'm like, all right,
they get smart fast.
They do. They start quoting me like from this show, and she understands what, unstable VTAC is. I mean, it's just like funny how they can copy and they hear me talk about it with my students. They're like, oh, mommy, I heard of that, about the PT waves with the hyperkalemia. It's like, oh, God, you're 12, right?
So, that's amazing. They're parrots. I mean, really, they're saying what they've heard, and then you kind of take it one step further and teach them maybe like what they actually really need to know. That's kind of cool. That's a cool opportunity.
As they get older, you can start to share your wealth as a pharmacist. I think you teach them as well. So that's kind of good. When they're younger, not so much. But as they're older, they're more incorporated as much as I can. But I try, if it's patient care, I don't share. Hey, that rhymes. That's a good one.
Another t-shirt.
Patient care, don't share. But I don't share with them. So that's one thing I do. What else is there? I remember a story that my daughter told me. She said to me that when I used to come home from work as a manager, she could always tell that mommy's really tense. And she actually did a parody of me being super strict. And she said that all the staff at the daycare would be scared of that lady in the heels. That was me. And I didn't realize I was scary, but that's because I have like a natural resting face that's bitchy. And so I didn't realize that. And here I am having a natural bitchy face. And then I'm stressed out. My feet's been heels 8 hours long. I've got P&T on my mind and I got work to do. Yeah, I'm not exactly like the mom of the year at that point. And so when she told me that story, I had like, okay, I know what needs to happen. I need to, first of all, not share at home. That's one. And to smile more and to at home be more playful. So keep it light. I don't have to be serious. I think at work I'm pretty serious. I'm working with shareholders, CEOs. I have a certain demeanor. If you saw me, you would not recognize me. I'm very different. I don't do TikToks. They would shun me. I would be like written up for inappropriate TikTok dancing in the aisles. It's just a culture. In healthcare, they're very strict about that.
Well, we wear a lot of hats in healthcare. We just do. In healthcare, we just wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, you do. But I think in hospitals specifically, the culture's dated. That they're very strict. They're very traditional, conservative. Even in their handbook, the dress code asks the women wear nylons. Okay, nylons. Okay, I haven't worn nylons since 1990s, but that's still in the handbook. No open-toed shoes. No, nothing that's above your fingertips. No sleeveless clothes. Like, so. Anyways, I know.
No fun. No fun at work. No fun.
No fun.
It's California. Come on, open-toed shoes. Right? Let's go.
I'm a little more progressive. So I have to remember when I pick up my children from daycare or wherever they're at to put on a smile. And at home, I literally just like, give me 5 minutes to change out of Dr. Wong into mommy time. So I'm wearing like my pajamas or something playful, and we do board games, and we try to like have specific dedicated times where I'm not on my phone. No see-me's, no lecture preparation, nothing. Just 1 hour mommy time. That's it. And that's all they need. So you do have to dedicate a specific block of time for that person or persons. And it's hard when they have a big gap. Like my son is 22, so when he calls me, I have to go, okay, I had the range of time to talk to him because I can't do it when I'm playing poker with my girls. And then my husband's like, where's my time? Okay, we have Friday lunch date at 12 o'clock. I got you penciled in. Like, there is something that we have to mandate and adhere to. And it sounds silly, but when you're so busy, yeah, you can't combine it. You can't forget about it. No, it's going to add up. People start feeling the neglect. Like, I miss you.
Yeah, you have to have boundaries, but then you have to be intentional about spending time with the ones you love. I get it.
Correct. I remember one time, it's a funny story that I didn't spend much time with my husband for maybe a month because I was busy with Expo West, really busy with that. That's like the seminars or like conference for like food makers. So I was busy with that conference and I was stressed out about it. During dinner, my husband started to lay in on me, and I was like, what is your problem? I'm stressed out. I need to go home and talk to my mentor about something. And he's like, fine, you can talk to your boyfriend. So he starts to accuse me of having a boyfriend. And I was like livid. So never cross me by telling me I'm a boyfriend when I don't, right? So he accused me of having a boyfriend. I walked out of that restaurant crying. Like, how could you say this to me? I asked him professionally, like, what is wrong? What is on your mind? And he wouldn't tell me. I walked out of there. My two little girls who was right there said, no, Daddy, that was wrong. Because they're with me all the time. They're like, there's no boyfriend. You stepped over that line. So he went out there and he apologized. I said, what's wrong? And he said, well, because I miss you. Just say that. So that was my aha moment. Even husbands, no matter how strong and chauvinistic they can be, they are still human with a heart, and they miss you. They miss their wife. They miss the attention we give them. All he wanted was dinner with me without me being on the phone, without me talking about my business, without me being stressing out about my sales sheets or my invoicing or what have you. So I understand that.
Yep. He needs you to be intentional about time with him. But I got to say, I mean, just between you and me, I'm married too. Our husbands sound similar in that they have a hard time coming out and saying just what they need. Don't you think? Like, like 2 words, I need, and then finish the sentence. Come on.
Yeah. It's like Mad Libs. What's that right now? What do you want to say?
I need dinner with my wife. No work, Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the husband bashing. I'm going to change it back over to talking about mom stuff. We've talked about a lot of fun stuff, and you were talking about nail painting with your daughters, lunch with your son, all kinds of stuff, going to the market. What are some of your favorite things to do as a mom? What are your favorite parts of being a mom?
One-on-one time with my kids, because during that period where I spend, let's say, an hour at Starbucks with my son or at the nail salon with my daughter, that other child is different. They're not the same Lisa or Lily or Ryan. They're like sincere. They're vulnerable. And they tell you things that you never even like heard them say before. Because at home, they're the jokester. They're the prankster. They're like the big brother. They're not vulnerable. So when my son sits down with me and he's like, Mommy, I miss you. And he wants me to call him by his nickname. Oh, honey, Mommy, don't call me that. Call me Pie Pie. That's his name, Pie Pie. And I was like, okay, Pie Pie, but no one else can call him that. That's a private nickname for him. And only I can say that. So when I'm with him, I can kiss him on his cheek, but not in front of his friends. When I'm with my daughter, she's talking about her like bullies at school. And she's telling me all things that I think if my husband heard, he would be pissed. But she's telling me what she's going through. And I tell her how to deal with it. My other daughter's going through puberty. So she's telling me that she's afraid she'll get her period at school, her biggest fear. So I tell her how to like fix that. Don't worry, Mommy's got liners. I got winged, heavy, light, whatever. I'm the Costco of liners. Don't worry about it. I've got to reassure them it's not shameful. It's not embarrassing. It happens to everybody. Yeah. So that's my favorite part because they're different and they're different with me and only I see that. And they always have a preface, don't tell daddy. It's always like a little moniker, don't tell daddy. You got it. Which is mean you got it.
Yeah. Oh, that's special. That's special. And I know exactly what you mean about when you get them alone, each child alone with nobody else around, no dad, no siblings, they open up. I'll tell you, sometimes if I just drive over to get pizza or something with my younger son, he will tell me things that he would not normally tell me. And I love those rides. Even though it's like 10 minutes round trip, I always learn something and I'm right there with you. That's one of my favorite things too.
Yeah, they're different. And you always ask, well, how come we didn't say something earlier? Oh, because sister was there and she's always by herself and I couldn't say what I want to say and I'm embarrassed by it. I get it. So when we go away, they love it. So we try to incorporate as much of that as possible, even on vacations, for example, we went to vacation recently and the older one oversleeps. They always oversleep, right? So they overslept. The younger one couldn't oversleep. She woke up at 6:00 in the morning and goes, Mommy, let's go downstairs to the gym. You got it. We'll go to the gym. So we're doing the gym thing until the rest woke up. And then we all went to the pool. So it's like we have that morning session together. And then we had the group later on. Yeah, it worked out fine. I'm a little tired, but
I know what you mean.
It's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you can't always predict when everybody's schedule is going to jive with yours and you just have to roll with the punches and there's that silver lining where you get something out of it that you didn't expect and it's magical.
Well, yeah. And you gotta think every time I say no to something like that, like no, I don't want to go to gym or no, I don't want to go to the arcade with you. I always say, wait, Karine, if I say no to that, what am I saying no to? I'm saying no to my child. I'm saying no, I don't want to bond with you. No, I don't want to spend time with you. That is not my mission. I didn't want to give up, but I pivoted my career for them so that I could say yes to them. So unless they're asking me to do something illegal or criminal, why not say yes? What's wrong with going to the gym at 6 a.m? What's wrong with going to arcade and blowing $50 worth of coins? I don't get that. So I will play with them. I will not watch them and hold the jackets. I play with them. I'm probably an aggressive basketball player than they are, and I will get as many tokens as I can. Life is more fun when you're playful.
Oh, you are playful. You are playful. This has been a lot of fun, but I do want to start winding the interview down. And I have three kind of like quick questions for you. And I don't know if that you knew that I was going to ask these, but here we go. One is, can you remember any weird cravings that you had while you were pregnant with any of your kids?
Oh, yeah. Well, Ryan's name is Pie Pie because I had this craving for pumpkin pie the entire 9 months. And I thought he would come out orange when he was born because I don't like pumpkin. I don't know where it came from. I just I had to have it. So I would eat the whole pumpkin pie. And when he was born, we call him Pie Pie because I love pies. The funny thing is that's his favorite pie now. He loves pie, pumpkin pie.
Oh, he does?
He does. And that's not part of our Asian culture, but he loves pumpkin pie. So it's kind of weird how that happened. My Lisa, I had this craving for mango, so I could eat mango all day long. And apparently, according to my husband, if I don't get mango, I'm really difficult. So he would be scared if it didn't come back from Costco with a big pallet of mango Costco's. I'd be like, go back and get some more. The other one, the Lily one was easy, so no cravings for her. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. You never know what somebody's going to say. I thought I'd ask. Used to crave
People,
pumpkin donuts.
oh,
Pumpkin donuts was
that's
one of my
weird.
cravings. Yeah, I know, right?
Wow. I know. I hear people like have cravings for like pickles and like dirt and like pica, right? They have pica. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But pickles? I don't get that.
Pickles and ice cream, I think, is a traditional craving for women while they're pregnant. That's what I've heard.
Okay.
Pickles and ice cream. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Raising kids is expensive. We both know that. What is one thing you were surprised that you had to buy when you had kids, whether it was when they were born or now that they're older?
I think what's surprising, I'll tell you what's surprising is like the tuition for like daycare. Like when you pay for it, it's almost as much as a mortgage. That's what kind of threw me off because I never knew it was that expensive, you know. I think it averages out to be almost like $20 an hour for like an 8-hour day. And then when you have food involved, it's like more. If you have to change diapers, it's even more. So I've seen prices high as 2,000. I paid 1,500 a month for one child. And then when I had the two girls, it was like 1,500 plus 700, so 2,300. That's a mortgage right there, you know.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that was surprising.
All right. Thanks for sharing. There's some mom out there that's going to need to hear this. So I'm glad you shared
That's
it.
not cheap. And honestly,
No.
like if you rely on grandparents to do it, that's great. It saves you money, but don't force them. Some grandparents, as you know, are older, right? They're 70, 80 years old. They may have issues that they may not tell you, like sciatica or arm, leg weakness. And so they may not be able to carry that child. So you cannot expect them to care for a child like a trained daycare worker who has, you know, education in special needs or children development, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I don't mean to paint a negative picture about the older folks in our lives, but you can't tell older people stuff, can you? They don't adopt stuff as quickly, do
No,
they?
no, they
They're
don't.
opinionated.
Well, because they think that they've gotten through life this far with that lifestyle or that adage, why change now? What do you know? You don't know. But
Yeah,
what they don't realize that they're getting older, you didn't have this problem when you were a kid. So you can't go around eating like a kid, or you can't go around smoking like it's no one's business. Like that's the reason why you get the heart attack, or that's the reason why your liver is dead.
yeah,
But
I hear you. I'll stop my old people bashing. I just thought I'd stick that in there because, hey, when you come out of the hospital with the baby and you don't have childcare, and like
yeah.
you were saying, you can't necessarily plan on a grandparent. 3 out of 4 grandparents in my life of my kids' grandparents still worked full time because I had my kids so
Mm,
young. My parents were
mhm,
barely 50 when I had
mm,
my kids. So,
mhm, mhm.
you can't necessarily count on them. And even when they come over to visit, they're just going to do it the way they did that kept you
Yeah,
alive when you were
yeah.
little. And
I know, right?
it's hard to
Yeah.
tell them. Like there's a
Yeah.
baby monitor and you didn't have one of those, but this is what I want you to do with
Mhm,
it. So if you go
mhm.
outside, please take it with you. And I'm not saying my parents didn't, but that's just one example. And they don't know how to manage my kids on social media and limit iPad time and stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, they're happy." No, I want
Yeah,
you to limit their
yeah.
time. You know what I'm talking
They're not
about.
they're not your paid help. So you have to expect if you're for free help, you get what you get. They're
Mhm.
free.
Yep.
So if they want to do it that way, that's what you expect. And they're voluntary. So some people, especially older now, they don't want to spend their golden years watching a kid. They want to go on vacation and what have you. So some people may think, oh, grandma and grandpa watch them. Not necessarily. They have a right to say no, and you have to be okay with it. So don't
Yes.
bank on it.
Absolutely. Yes. All right, final question before we wrap this up.
You
Let's
sure?
talk about books. Yes, I'm pretty sure this is the last one. Book suggestions. Is there one that helped you at all? Anything that you would recommend to current or prospective moms
You mean to help them become a mom?
to help them, get a boy or a girl, or to become a mom, or to understand what's going to happen, or something that helped you as you were raising your kids? Very broad question. Feel free to throw anything out there.
Ah, they they probably call me personally for those those answers. When I was going
Keep
through,
it PG. Keep it
okay,
PG here.
I'm gonna. When
Okay.
I was going through my childbearing age. I did not read books. I mean, I read the normal ones, right? What to expect when you're expecting blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
That's okay. But a lot has changed now. But in terms of any special books, no, I don't think so. I think pharmacists, for the most part, are very well educated. You guys know enough. We know how the cycle works. We know how to have babies. We know how the ovulation works. So yeah, there's not much to mention there. No. But I will one day we'll either do a podcast with Sex PharmD or some of that where we talk about how to increase your chances of having a baby and how to get a baby. You'd be surprised. True story. I actually have a friend who's been trying to have a baby for a long time. And I'm very girl talk with her. I'm like, okay, honey, how often are you having sex? And she would show me like her calendar 4 times a month. And they were like random times. Okay. Those 4 times, how many times did you orgasm? Radio silence. Okay. How long did it last? Like, I asked very private questions and she was very like, well, it was so good. It was okay. And all right. So what's your plan? She goes, well, I'm going to get IVF now. I'm going to get like this $30,000 procedure done because we tried for a year and we're going to do it that way. So would it be easier to get the Ava watch, which is the ovulation watch that measures your basal temperature and all that jazz? That's only $300 and you Bluetooth it to your phone. No, it's too expensive. It's $300. It's not $30,000. It's $300. She said no. I thought that was very silly of her. So I bought it for her. I said, this is going to be cheaper than a $30,000 procedure. She got it. I gave it to her. She was very excited about it. And my husband said, oh my God, you spent how much money? It's for a baby. It's not like telling time. Okay. So 2 months later, she calls me and tells me she's pregnant. That watch was amazing. So the Ava watch is second generation watch. The first one didn't work as well, and it was like $500. Now this is the second gen. It's $300. Works amazing. Measures like 5 different variables in your body, like heart rate, basal temperature, blah blah blah, and it tells you exactly when your 48-hour window is of fertileness. So anyway, so she got pregnant right away. My brother heard the story and he bought it for his wife, and 3 months later, voila. Now he's talking and walking.
Wow. And this is called the Ava watch?
Ava watch. AVA. 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 Yeah, Ava watch. It's an ovulation watch that measures everything all day long, continuously. It's fantastic. And it's so much cheaper. So my original friend who got pregnant the first time was so amazed by it, so touched by it that she paid it forward, bought it for her other baby challenge friends, and now they're pregnant. I think out of the 2 people that she had talked to, one got pregnant, the other one's still trying. But it's amazing. Within 2-3 months, boom. Because when you have that specific 48-hour window, which a lot of women don't know. And I don't mean like farmers, I mean like women, like civilians, people who are not in healthcare. They forget, they don't know. Or they didn't get it in school. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, maybe another time we'll do a podcast on that. I'll dial it down for y'all.
No, somebody out there probably has a podcast on fertility. I think Natasha Stamper at least talks about it on her Instagram channel. And she is, I think, the fertility pharmacist. Forgive me if I'm messing this up.
Nice.
But anyways, instead of a book suggestion, a device suggestion. I love it. Thanks for going kind of like off script.
And it tells time too. So if you want to watch, that's a good watch to have. Does everything.
Okay. All right. And later on, when you don't want to have any more kids, might help you avoid certain times of the month, right?
Exactly. That's a good point.
There you go. There you go. Knowing when not to have sex is just as important as knowing when to have sex, correct?
Exactly. Use it opposite way.
There you go. There you go. That's quite a tool. All right. Well, as we wrap this up, this has been a lot of fun. Girl Talk with Dr. Karine Wong, PharmD. This has been great. Is there anything else you'd like to share as we wrap this up? Last chance.
Oh, no, I think you covered it all, Dr. Newlove. Thank you very much for having me. I hope that your readers enjoyed this episode and maybe found it amusing and insightful.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. not only did you share how you use your voice as a pharmacist, but you shared how you used your voice as a mom too. You've had 3 kids and you've kept them alive this long. Way to go. And you've had all kinds of great suggestions. That's what I
These are
tell.
low standards.
Sometimes on a rough day, that's the litmus test. Is everybody all right?
Y'all breathe in. Y'all breathe in.
Everybody's breathing. Yes. And some mom out there needs to listen to this and realize that some days are better than others. And in hindsight, you get to laugh about all the things that go right and wrong. And you get to share them. And that's what moms do. Pharmacist moms listening to this will enjoy, I'm sure, the girl talk. And it's just been a pleasure getting to know you better. You use your voice in so many different ways, and this has been awesome. So thank you again for being on the Pharmacist Voice podcast. You take care.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. And happy Mother's Day too.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Dr. Karine Wong is a multi-talented woman, and I want to encourage you to connect with her on social media, check out My Guiltless Treats online, and recommend them to any of your patients who are looking for a healthier dessert. In the show notes today, you will find lots of links. You'll find links to Dr. Karine Wong's LinkedIn profile, her TikTok channel, the Instagram page, Facebook page, YouTube channel, business website for My Guiltless Treats, her book titled Don't Sit on Her, the Girl Talk podcast, and Pharmacy Pearls app. Plus, I also included a link to the Ava fertility tracking bracelet. I think Karine called it a watch, but online it says Ava fertility tracking bracelet. There's also a link to Sex PharmD, the podcast, and more. Let me just wrap this up by saying thank you for listening to episode 150 of the Pharmacist Voice podcast. Please visit thepharmacistvoice.com to read the show notes and check out all those links. If you know someone who would like this episode, please share it with them and subscribe to or follow the Pharmacist Voice podcast on your favorite podcast player and YouTube to get each new episode right when it comes out. Join me next week for part 3 of my Pharmacist Mom series, and thank you again for listening.